Some of you might be thinking I just made that today. No, I've always had that in my pocket, and I just love to break it out every now and again. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of My Cool Friends. If this is your first time joining us, let me say hello. We go live every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our co-host, the Pikachu, or as I like to call him, him. His name is him. Today, my friends, we have a very special topic of discussion today. Our special topic of discussion is the personal journey, specifically the journey of oneself, the personal growth journey. I like to think of this as like the journey of one's like identity, because like when I know specifically like when I was like growing up, like when I was like trying to figure out like, oh, who am I? A lot of times, like, that's why, like, when we're going through school, we develop, like, these, like, almost cliques, like, oh, I am insert thing here, like, that we, like, often, like, will associate ourselves with a brand name. Like, for myself, like, oh, I'm a nerd, therefore I identify with video games, and therefore, like, this is my identity now that I have, like, been associated with, or other people have associated with, and therefore I have found myself in this camp, regardless of whether or not, like, regardless of who I am truly within, like, my soul, or, like, whatever you may choose, like, this is, like, the camp that I have fallen into. And then as we get older, we then realize, like, oh, wait, who am I truly? It then becomes, like, a more difficult question to answer, because eventually we'll then break out of these molds and then try to figure this out. It's like, oh, who am I truly? There's, if you watch some episodes of the show, I think I've brought up this movie. There's a really good movie out there called Accepted, where it's a story of a guy like that needed to get an acceptance letter in order to please his parents. So he made up his own acceptance letter and made a fake website for a university in order to say like, oh, hey, I got accepted into this university. And then his parents wanted to go and visit the university, and so he bought a building in order to get like, oh, hey, I have a university. And then everyone else wanted to go to his fake university because they also needed acceptance letters. And then this divulged into like one of my favorite scenes, which is where he says to everyone, what do you want to learn? And they all look and it's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, what do you want to learn? Write it up on the whiteboard. And this becomes a difficult question because no one's, like, through their entire life, no one's ever really asked them, what did they want to learn about? And it's at a lot of point in our lives, like, we then have, like, this ultimate power where we have the ability to learn about whatever it is that we want to learn about. But we also have the ability to make an impact on wherever it is that we want in the world as well. I think that this is a perspective that a lot of times we don't think about. Not only can we learn about whatever we want, but we also have the ability to make a change on wherever we want in the world. But we also can't make a change on everywhere in the world, because obviously time is a finite resource. So we then have to figure out, oh, hey, what do I want to do with this finite amount of time that I have been granted with in this world? And that is something that, like, can't necessarily be taught. It is something that can only be answered by yourself. And there is no, like, the beauty of this is that there is no wrong answer to it. There's no wrong answer, there's no right answer, there's only your answer. It is specifically your answer. The answer could be simply like, oh, hey, with my finite time given on this earth, I want to be dad. And then, like, that is and then that's a lot of, and then that can be many people's answer. Like, it could be like, I want to, like, make a, like, enormous amount of money and create my wealth. I was having this a conversation with someone, like, where I gave this example where, like, if you, like, there's lawyers out there who, like, make an enormous amount of money to where, like, they could travel to Australia, like, or travel to Las Vegas and, like, spend every single weekend with, like, enormously beautiful women and have, like, whatever sort of weekend that they want. But would that make them, like, but would that make you happy? Would that make you happy? And that's sort of the question. Like, it's the question of like filling your cup, and it's your cup. It's not your neighbor's cup, or it's not like what would my community want? Like, what would my parents want? Like, I think that's where our brains a lot of times will go. But it's your cup, the cup that would make you truly fulfilled. Like, they talk about this in Avatar. Like, oh, hey, what is in your cup? What would make it fulfilled? And that's sort of the beauty of it. And so, in order to find out this question, it's first we have to think about like, and when I was like earlier in my life, like I associate myself with a brand name. Like, okay, like I am now this, like this is now my identity. But I often realize that like, oh, hey, like as I'm getting older, this isn't really my identity. I chose this, like I want to be a part of like the video game clique. I want to be part of the nerd clique. And I want to be part of all this, not necessarily because this was me, but because I wanted to have a sense of belonging. I wanted to be part of a group because I didn't want to be like by myself, like because it's natural for like human beings to want to belong to something. And this was the mistake that I personally made with this journey. It's like, all right, so first I had to get comfortable like with like stepping away from that place of fear where I like didn't belong. And so then stepping away from my fear, and then stage 2 of stepping away from that place of fear is then saying, okay, so I've stepped away from the fear of like being alone or without a group. Then like the next stage is, all right, so who am I? Like, what fills my cup? If I had the infinity stone of possibilities, then what fills my cup? And then there is no wrong answer to that. And then this like opens up the next realm of possibility, which is like then you can truly find like that next group. Like then there's stage 3, which is finding those people that are truly in your calling, that like are going to fill your cup. That a lot of times people equate this to like, oh, you are the reflection of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of your time with. So if someone is like turns into a negative person, that might be because they start a new job, and they are starting to like start that new job, and like that's a negative job or a negative environment. They're spending most of their time with negative people, and thus it is having an impact on them. But if you choose to like, oh, hey, I've chosen new hobbies, I have chosen new groups of people that are more positive, and thus they reflect like my chosen inner like cup that I want to fill, and thus this is having more of that positive impact that I want it to have. But first we have to choose what we actually want to. We have to make the conscious choice of what actually goes within that cup first before we can get to that stage 3, which is important. It's very important. We have to make the conscious decision of what is going to go in the cup before we can actually like acknowledge all of this. So, like, ladies and gentlemen, this is not just our assignment for the week. This is not just our assignment for like the month. Like, this is our life assignment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, like, I want to know like what has been like your journey with this. Like, is this something that resonates with you? Is this something that like you yourself have worked on? Because I can tell you like this has like I've shared my story with you here, like my personal stages for going through this. I want to hear your guys' story. Like, what has been your journey with going through this? To next week, we are going to be back with another interview with a very, very special, cool friend. Be sure to check out our posts for the special guest. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to get to sit down with you every single week and share these stories. I am your host. My name is Ben Ebig. Until then, have a safe and happy weekend, and I will see you guys next time.